Okay, so I'm reading, one day I'm a little kid in Chatham, reading a book on Atlantis by Edgar Casey. And on the cover, no, I was reading, not Atlantis, I was reading another topic, and it touched on Atlantis. It touched on Atlantis. I was reading Edgar Casey, and he was talking about Atlantis, but it was more or less just a little piece of about Atlantis that he was talking about. There was another book that was all about Atlantis and that stuff that he did. And I was, wow, Atlantis really exists? Whatever, right? I don't know nothing about nothing. I'm like 10 to 15 years old in Chatham. And my mom gave me this book to read on Edgar Casey. He mentioned Atlantis. I'm like, ooh, Atlantis. I don't know what that's about. And, you know, in search of, you watch that. So, Mom told me Grandma has got the Atlantis Edgar Casey book. She'll give it to you if you go down there and get it. So I'm like, I got done this one, and I ran down to Grandma's house and asked Grandma for the book. So she gave it to me. I read it, and I got juiced, got the tingles, all that. And so, yeah, I think I was like 16, 17, 18 when that happened. I'm getting tingles right now. So, I'm like, well, I knew how to do some past life, how to recall the past life, because I already did one. My Russia, Ukraine area, Eastern Europe area. I had a past life there, and I already knew how to do it. And I'll tell you about that later, that one. So I said, okay, I'm going to find out. I didn't actually think, I didn't even know if fucking Atlantis existed, okay? Edgar Casey is talking like it did. I have other people talking like it did, but I don't know, right? I'm like, come on, really? Something that big like the fucking city of Toronto, if not bigger, a whole continent gone. Wish somebody would have found something, right? Little do I know they already had, but they don't know it. But anyway, so I was like, I'm gonna ask. So I'm reading the book. I get this feeling inside, and I lay down and I say, I'm gonna ask. So I start chanting, is Atlantis real? Is Atlantis real? Is Atlantis real? Is Atlantis real? And this big bubble in my chest. I'm asking it. I bring the light and all that to my head. And so now you know how long I've been bringing the light to my head. Okay. I was 16, 17 when I started on my second past life. I'm 50 now. Okay. Every day almost walking down the street, bringing your light to your head. See through your heart. So I'm laying in bed chanting, is Atlantis real? Or whatever, and I'm waiting for words, because I always get words. But this time, boom, I'm in a vision. As soon as I cross out, it's like the bubble comes from my chest and goes, and I'm there. It's like I'm sitting in this car talking to you. I'm standing. I'm standing on the street, a street. Now, the street is, say, meters wide, 20 meters wide. It's like a 4-lane highway street going straight down. 4-lane highway. Straight to the west. I'll tell you why, okay? Now, it's all marble. It's like black and white marble. Shiny as hell. Shiny. That's what it looks like. Okay, and I'm seeing it, and it goes all the way to the horizon, this street. It's like Yonge Street in Toronto, all the way to the horizon that I can see. At the end of the street is a great big pyramid, bigger than the Giza one. Well, what do I know about big? It's big. Then, in front of it, towards my perception, in front of that big one, was another one. It was much closer, and I could tell the other one was farther away because it was more smeared out by the atmosphere and the dust and everything. The one closer had more detail and less dust in front of it. And the sun was setting behind it, and the sky was like orange, orange, purple, blues, sunset. The sun already fell below. And so I'm looking, I'm like, wow. And the pyramid, the smaller one, it went about halfway up. And it had a little walkway come out on the top, like on the side of the pyramid, up near the top. It had a walkway that came out, and it came down. So it was like this at the top of the pyramid. So there's two pyramids, one in front of the other. The little one in front with the walkway that came out, and a huge one in the back. And it was farther away. Marble. Hundreds of thousands of people from here all the way to the pyramids walking around, from right beside me, walking around. Now, on the side of each side of the walkway were random trees all the way to the horizon, and pillars and pots, and there was goats and carts. Okay, there was goats and carts and pots and pans. Then there was elaborate pillars, marble pillars on the certain buildings, and it was all like white marble, whitish with black marble, and all the way to the horizon. And people were coming, and people lived in the trees, in their huts and stuff that they made. But the white pillars meant something, and the white pillars went all the way to the horizon. And there wasn't a lot of them. There was one beside me, then about a mile away there was another one, and there was another one, like that. And then behind that one was a building had white pillars on it. And I'm standing here, and I knew I lived there or there, somewhere around here. I couldn't remember because it wasn't that important, but I knew this is my area, and I worked over there. I knew I worked over there. I didn't see nothing flying in the sky. There was nothing flying in the sky. They had goats and donkeys and horses and all that shit, chickens running around, people with baskets carrying things, and stuff like that. And so I'm like, wow. And I remember I came out on the road specifically to see the sunset, because I think the sun, it was a special night, and the sunset right behind the pyramids, which was one of them equinox things where the sun aligns with the pyramid. And I came out to watch it because everybody else was out watching it, so I figured this is a moment, right? And it was really, and I remember the sun went down. I'm looking at all the colors in the sky, and I'm like, and I was just content and happy and beautiful, one day out of your life where everything is just like, wow, impressive, man, right? And you say, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life, that sort of thing, right? And you have it now in your life now, but this was in my Atlantis Recal past life. Anyway, all of a sudden, after that's over, it goes boom, and I'm standing at the building that was beside me in the first vision. I'm standing on top, and I ate my lunch there. I remember I was standing on the railing, and there were other people walking around. Now, what it was white pillars. I don't know, let's say 4, 5, 6 pillars. Okay, going around in a square. Then there was a roof on top. Then there was more pillars with a roof on top. So it was like two stories high with pillars. And I was in the middle one. And I'm standing at the railing, marble railing, and I'm having a drink, and I'm eating my lunch, which was some kind of bread. And then I go, wow, this is really nice. And I thought, I was thinking about work, and something was going on at work that was really important where I worked, but I'm eating my lunch, and I worked right over there. But it seemed far away where I worked, but I was way over here, so I'm eating my lunch. I don't know, maybe I wasn't working that day. Anyway, I was thinking about work, but I don't remember what I was thinking about. What I thought about was we were building something. We were testing a big something. We were testing, and everybody was worried about it. if it's what's going to happen. That type of thing. And then I'm like, wow. But anyway, it's really beautiful. And then there's pots. There was like proper pots, and they had plants in it, potted plants, all around. And there was vines hanging, green vines hanging on it, flowers, and there's vines and pots and trees and in this structured building where I ate my lunch. It was really nice, and it was out of the sun. Lots of shade, lots of birds, everything was going on. It was really pretty. And there was tropical trees. What are they called down there in Florida? Tropical trees. I can't remember. I'm Canadian, right? I don't get down there too much. But anyway, I don't know what they're called right now. Then, boom! Here I am. I'm standing again on the street, and it's like noon. It's the sun's overhead, and it's hot. It's like bleached white, noon sun, and it's got the bleachy effect. The sun's right up over my head. I'm standing there. I don't know what I was doing. This was really fast, but I want to put some more detail in. All the trees were tropical trees. Okay, what are they called? Damn, I can't remember. As soon as I start making a video, I can't remember. It's tropical trees with the fucking coconuts and shit. And tropical trees. No pine trees, no oak trees, none of that. They're all tropical trees. From here down to the horizon. And then all of a sudden, I'm standing there, I notice that, and I'm facing west, where the pyramids are, where the sun goes down. So I know I'm facing west. I know I'm in the southern tropics. South America, from Florida to South America, type somewhere in there. Longitude and latitude in that area. It could have been in Atlantic, it could have been in the Pacific, it could have been in Greece. I don't know, but I'm facing west, sun's going down. Anyway, I don't know where on the planet I was, but I was in that perimeter, the 33-degree parallel. Check that out, guys. So, I don't know. You know where the parallel is, where all these step pyramids are being built? Well, Atlantis was in there. And it sunk, so it's in the ocean. So it's in there somewhere, that area. That's where I was. I also noticed there was people that had dark gray robes, like almost black, dark gray robes. I wore a white robe. I had pure white, solid white. Other people had gray robes, and other people had darker robes. So there was like 3 colors of robes, and each represented like where your status was in society. I remember that. And they were all running around. So it was like housewives and stuff had the gray. They took care of food and gardens and stuff. The people, maintenance guys, wore a certain color. The scientists, like me, I wore white. I had a badge on or something. I remember that, but I don't know what the badge was. I didn't even look at it. I just knew it was there on the uniform, on the robe. We had robes. But, So I am at work. I'm standing on this pillar road looking, and all of a sudden I'm standing there, and all of a sudden I look off in the distance, way down the distance, down the road, the marble road, and I see puffs of black smoke just popping out of this road, way far away, and it's coming closer, and I'm like, uh-oh, that ain't good. And the marble road is going just in spots, like poofs of smoke were coming out here and there, and the marble roads would go flying, the marble blocks would go flying, boof, 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 all the way, and it's coming closer, and all of a sudden, boof, right in front of me, and the ground's shaking, and all of a sudden the ground starts shaking, like earthquake. Everybody, fucking dogs and chickens and people are running all over the place, going absolutely crazy, and they're all going crazy. All of a sudden, there was so much black soot in the air, I couldn't see the pyramids anymore. I couldn't even barely see the sky, and anymore. I could just see it immediately in front of me. And then there's one, I'm shaking, I'm rocking back and forth, and I'm like, well, I guess that didn't work. I saw it, whatever, I go, it didn't work. And I knew whatever we were doing caused this fucking earthquake, right? More or less. And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, oh, well, guess this is it. I'm gonna die. Right? Because I knew instinctively, yep, this is it. We're done. I'm done anyway. I'm done. And people are running all over carrying baskets and, you know, baskets of food, and they're falling and tripping. Kids, dogs, cats, donkeys, cows, goats, llamas, all that type of stuff going on. Running around screaming. And there's one lady, she gets up off the ground beside me, and she looks over at me. She looks over and I see her. And I'm like, oh, you know, I'm just standing there accepting death. I might as well enjoy my death, because this is like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. This super volcano and earthquake at the same time. Tsunami probably going to come too, right? And I might as well enjoy the scenery, right? There's nothing I can do for the people. All right, I wanted to, but there's nothing you can do, right? It's all going to shit. So I just stood there watching it. This lady runs by. She falls, gets up. She looks at me. She knows she's going to die, too. She looks at me and she got to say something. She runs over to me. And she grabs me by the now I'm a worker guy, okay? I'm a worker guy. Scientist worker guy. I'm not the head honcho. I have no say in what... I have no say. I'm working on this. This is my job to do this. I can't fucking dictate what the boss is going to do with it, okay? It's like I'm building a nuclear bomb, but the fucking boss, he's going to drop it and he's going to do with it what he wants. You got no fucking say in it, or, right? That type of thing. But it wasn't a bomb. She gets up, she's looking at me, she runs over, she grabs me and she goes, "It's all your fault!" When I woke up, my fucking heart's pounding. And she screamed right in my face, "It's all your fault!" And screamed it like, "It's all your fault!" And I fucking, my head was buzzing, I was tripping out, and I wrote the whole goddamn thing down. And then I found out Grandma had the book of Atlantis after that vision. So I went to get it at Grandma's house. I'm sorry, I got it inverted. It's been so damn near 40 years since this happened to me, okay? Sorry. So I went to Grandma's house to get it. I go, "Grandma, do you get that book on Atlantis by Edgar Casey? Mom told me you had it." She gives it to me, and I read it, and I sit down, I'm having cookies, she brings it over, I'm having milk and cookies at Grandma's house. She goes and gets it, puts it down in front of me, and the cover is the exact goddamn thing I saw in the vision. 2 pyramids, even the little thing coming out at the top. On the cover of Edgar Casey's book. Anybody got that book? I looked online for it. That picture on Edgar Casey's Atlantis book. It was a paperback. I looked online. Hundreds of books. Can't find that picture. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, I almost had a heart attack. Because I'm like, holy shit, Grandma. And now, after I came out of the meditation, I drew what I saw. And I brought it with me to Grandma's house, right? I drew exactly. I'm a pretty good artist. I drew the leaves, the trees, the people, the bush, the pyramids way down there, the sky and the sunset, all of it. I drew it all. I go, "Grandma." I go, "I just had a dream." I said a dream. I didn't say vision. And I had a dream about Atlantis, and I drew it. She goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Then I came here to get the book so I can read about it." And she goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Yeah, you want to see the picture I drew?" She goes, "Okay." So she comes over beside me. I reach in my, whatever it was, pull it out, unfold the paper, and put it down next to the book. And she looks at me and she goes, "Jesus Christ." She goes, "You were there?" And I'm like, "I think so." And I go, And so I told her the rest of the story, and she was blown away. Anyway, that was really cool. That was really cool how that happened. So I got a little bit of confirmation from the Edgar Casey book, and Grandma's a witness. So that was the Atlantis. Now, I always thought either Atlantis was a island, a big ass island out in the middle of the ocean that was separated from the rest of the indigenous peoples on the mainlands of the continents, okay? And they evolved, and on their island, okay? They had their own evolutionary path on their island, and they got smart and did things, flew around, checked stuff out, right? Okay? I can't remember everything from the Edgar Casey books of what he said, and he never talked about the Anunnaki. So everybody's has different names for these people. And so I thought they evolved into technological, blew themselves up, that was it for the island. But it was separate from all that. Then I thought, well, maybe it was a separate race of aliens that landed there and started their own little culture on the island, separate from the mainland peoples. I don't know. Then I read Bill Carson's stuff. He has tablets that talk about, I think it was the Emerald tablets that talk about Thoth, and he says something, I don't remember exactly what it was, but he's saying the Atlantians were the Anunnaki. Okay? And I always thought the Atlantians, either after it blew up, some of them went to different cultures on the mainland and started teaching them shit that they knew from Atlantis. But I didn't know the timeline of the Anunnaki's reign on Earth and when by the time they made us and all the shit that happened. I can't figure out all the timelines. I can't figure out the cultures because it's like Billy Meyer stuff. He has a whole story, but they're all called different peoples. So how do you know what people Billy Meyer is talking about? The Lyrians and the Vagans and the Plajarans. You know, they're all running around doing their thing, but they're actually called, are they Atlantians? Are they the Anunnaki? Are they this? But everybody's got a different name for all these people. Like, fuck. You got to go by what they've done, right? I don't know. Maybe it was a solely separate thing. But I know Billy Meyer said something about they split off because of the war and it had to do with Mars and it had to do with all this stuff. They got sick and fucking tired of the wars and they went and lived in the Plajaran system, or the Pleiades. The Plajaran went to live in the Pleiades. They phased out of space-time or out of this reality, just outside this reality into another system. So it's hard to retain all this information. And every experiencer, like Edgar Casey, Zachariah Sitchin, they all got different names, man. I can't add it all up. I can't put people. It's like a big puzzle in my head. So the only thing I got is what's in my heart and what I have, what I see. It's the only thing I got. I can't figure it all out. But I read it all, and I try to put like, okay, if Billy Meyer says they lived on Atlantis, this was the culture on Atlantis, okay, but he calls it the Plajarans, or the Vagans, or the Lyrians, or whatever, Vega people. Whatever, I don't know. I can't remember. I can look it up, though, real quick. But that's how I know which people it was. So if the Anunnaki or the Agigi were living and made the culture on Atlantis, Billy Meyer would call them something different. Okay? You know what I mean? But we got Atlantis as a starting point, that type of thing. So there's a lot of research, and I'm not going to do it. I'm still working on myself. But this is what I'm trying to say. This is what pisses me off, because no one can take all these different people's historical data from the ET races and put them all together into one certain point, and for me to understand it. And then what are you supposed to believe on the fucking internet, right? So you got to find these certain people. Like, I believe what Billy Meyer is saying. I believe what Edgar Casey is saying. I believe from the research of what Bill Carson has been doing and putting it out there. When he told me it was Thoth and all that was on Atlantis and helped blow it up, well, I just found that out yesterday, right? Like, I thought about it before, but I had no papers. I didn't even know of emerald tablets, that it was on actually one of the tablets. I thought maybe it was a Sumerian tablet or something, because Zechariah Sitchin. But you read Zechariah Sitchin, and you're losing your shit by the 10th chapter, right? You got to take a week off, because you're losing it. So you got to remember all that. Jesus Christ. It's hard to do, man. There's a lot to it. And that's why I stick to someone. When I get the tingles, when I hear a speaker, I listen to him. So I got Billy Meyer. I got Carson. He's a good talker. He makes a lot of sense. I'm getting tingles off him. He's blowing me away, and he's got a lot to say. And so I stick with him. These are my people, okay? People that rip other people off and use it for their own stuff. People that regurgitate, get rid of it, right? And then make money off it, get rid of them. I like the original OGs, man. The guys that are doing it for themselves and figuring it out for themselves, just like I'm doing. That's where I stand. The tingles telling me where to go. The tingles on your skin. When you're reading something and you get the tingles repeatedly out of a book, stick with that guy. Read his stuff. So that was my Atlantis, which turns out to be the Anunnaki, an offshoot of the Anunnaki living on that island. Now, I don't really understand it yet. I got more Carson stuff to read and watch and listen to, and I'm going to start researching what he's got to say, and he can direct me to the happy tablets and the Sumerian texts and all that, and the 10 kings, or whatever they're called. A whole bunch of stuff I can't really rename now, but I'm going to stick with him, and I'm going to follow through and see, and as I start researching that, I get more awakenings, more bubbles inside. And the bubble grows and the bubble grows. I meditate, I chant, what? Boom! Have another vision. That's how it works. So the next one I'm going to talk about is a vision I had. Yep, a vision. A couple of the visions are coming next. Okay, I'm going to tell you how I got to the vision. I'm going to tell you how I had the vision, and I'm going to tell you the vision and what it means. Okay, later, guys.